There are many stories of couples, marriages breaking up, of people who've just migrated to the UK. And some people are struggling to actually settle and adapt to the ways of life once they've come here. Many are embarking on their journey without having an idea of what to expect. And this, I feel, is having a serious effect on families or even breaking families. Some are even struggling to change their cultural norms, traditions, practices, and these differences are creating problems mainly in people's home. I wanted to shed a bit of light to equip those already here, or maybe those that are planning to come to the UK as a couple, giving you insights and expectations to reduce some anxiety. Probably make sure that you are also well informed, and this could actually save marriages or relationship. And this is primarily based on my experience in the UK in the last 30 years, but some of the stories are surfacing and we are hearing a lot more of them. And these are real and can actually break families and deceive the whole idea of why families have come here for a better life. In fact, families are now finding themselves breaking up, and women who have worked so hard and men are now going on their own ways alone without their wives. And I can tell you that this country is a lonely place. The journey in this country requires two or favors two as a couple. So I'm hoping that this is going to help people to be able to make informed decision and be able to change their ways quite quickly before they've lost everything that they so worked hard to come to this country for. Once you come into the UK, roles will change. You know, we don't have maids in this country or home help as some people are used to having in Africa. And you know what? You need to get over it and start loving your wife, start helping them, start understanding where they are coming from. And even in the UK, working class, upper class cannot afford maids. And people have to make do with cleaners if there's enough money to be able to have a part-time cleaner who comes to help when things have settled. But if people are already starting to put pressure on their marriages, their wives, and I'm also aware most of the people who came here earlier are women who started on this job and then they've worked so hard to be able to save money or to be able to then bring the other spouse here. And these women are finding themselves really afraid and scared that their marriages might end because of the lack of understanding from one spouse. Please be intentional about loving your spouses, because this can be a lonely place. Do not frustrate your wives, or cause them unnecessary stress when they are doing their best to work very hard. Some of you do not change or are not prepared to change the way that you are in this country, then you will be able to destroy your own marriage, your own life with your own hands. I would urge you to talk to some of the men who came here way before you. They've already adapted. There are a lot of African men already in this country who hold high-ranking positions, who can cook, who can babysit. And you know what? The babysitting and looking after your children actually gives you an opportunity to be able to bond with your children and build better relationships, especially in this country where children, if not given the time and attention they need by their parents, they can often find themselves getting into trouble or even into gangs. And if they find that mom and dad are arguing all the time because of these silly things we've talked about, the kids can tend to blame themselves and they can take these problems to school. And when they take them to school, it will affect their education, it will affect their adaptation. Remember that your children in this country are also having their own struggles to adapt to a new country, new climate, and making new friends and languages, and sometimes they're being misunderstood in schools. The last thing they want is to be able to come home to parents that are not getting on or that are arguing. Marriage hopping, moving from one relationship or one marriage to another does not work in this country. You will find yourself 10 years down from here with nothing, being a loser. So better stick to your woman, stick to your wife, or stick to the relationship that you have had if you want to succeed in the next 5 years. If you come into this country without any goals, you will find yourself in serious trouble. You will find yourself actually moving out of your family home and struggling to start again and make ends meet. The sooner men realize this, the better. This will help make ends meet up avoid even some of the issues that you're going through. Childcare can cost a lot. So to be able to avoid these astronomical bills of childcare, if you work together as a team and you are able to support your family, your children, then you can be able to achieve the financial goals that you've had, the life that you've always wanted when you got on the plane to come to the UK. Please, men, I urge you to try and put away some of the egos or some of the way that life was in Africa. I understand what it's like out there, but also here it's tough. I have a husband here as well who has a full-time job, but it's part of who he is to be able to help me around the house and do chores, which is actually a nice thing to be able to have, because it gives me the peace of mind to be able to be a wife, to be able to prepare good meals for him when I can. So the roles really, really change in this country. Another fact about this country is that, you can be isolated culturally, because yes, there may be people that from your own country or from your own culture that are here. But even no matter how much you know them or you knew them, they will be busy working. They will have to pencil in time to see you once in a while. You may have a brother or a sister that is here, but the work demands of this country may mean that you might not see them maybe once a year. And even the people you live locally with, they might just take time to be able to get to know you, because one thing I know about British people is they don't quickly take you closer to their chest. They need to get to know you first before you can actually call yourself acquaintances or friends. And also it's very difficult to build friendships, even in workplaces. People are a little bit guarded until they get to know you. So the more reason why you need your family, so that after a day's work, you can go to a home, you can see your children, you can see your spouse, or you can see your family members that you can talk to and be able to pour out your day-to-day struggles. I mean, one thing I know about this country as well is we only have 3 to 4 months of summer in this country, and that's the way that it is. So be sure to be able to know when that period is. Book your annual leave during those 3 to 4 months so that you can be able to get out and enjoy some sunshine. I mean, this is something that I didn't realize for many years, that in the summer, most people have already booked annual leave. By the time I realized, oh, it's such a nice day, I haven't booked any annual leave. I'm still working throughout all the good weather. So be able to do that. Manage your time, manage your holidays, and that window where the summer holidays is, get to know which one it is, and then be able to book your holidays with your family. You really do need your families. And another point that I want to add is neighbors in this country. We rarely speak to each other, some of them in some parts of the country. And again, the long winters mean that you come out in the morning and it's dark, you go to work and you come back and it's still dark, and you might not see your neighbors until that short window of 3 to 4 months when the weather is really good and people are in their gardens. And that's when they might say good morning. They might get to know you a little bit more, and they will be deciding whether you're somebody that they can actually get to know well as well. So that is when the loneliness is in this country, and you need to know that. So the more reason why you need your spouses, you need your partners. The grass is not always greener. So leaving each other is not always an option, but working through these issues can actually help you to enjoy each other and can actually help you get a better wife. A rested wife is a better wife and is a happier wife. The next point is also about money. Look after your money, save your money, and be able to look at cheaper accommodation to rent in the meantime whilst you're figuring out where you're actually going to live. And I would encourage you, as soon as you've saved enough deposit to buy a home, buy a home. But you will only be able to achieve this if you're able to save on the house that you're renting, because some people are finding themselves renting very expensive houses, and this is going to be a real struggle to be able to save for a mortgage. So think about some of the decisions that you're making so that you can maximize on your money and be able to save. I think in my previous videos, I've talked about, even things like cars, the type of cars that you can get if you want to be able to have an asset and something that you can say, actually, I've got my home, I've got my mortgage, so that you're not paying rent, but you're paying down your mortgage. Look after your money, look after yourself. And I know that many of us, we have black tax. And black tax is something that we've all had to live with. But I know my early days in this country, 30 years ago plus, I was operating on a lot of emotion. I missed my family so much. I wanted to give them everything. I wanted them to know that I'm okay. And I just kept splashing out as a way of making myself feel good. But yeah, there were times when I over splashed out. And looking back, I could have made some investments earlier, and that could have led me to probably have retired a little bit earlier and spend a bit more time with them. So balance it out. And also, you need to be able to look after yourself. Self-care is very, very important. Have time out to be able to go and look after yourself, even after a week's work. Just take some time out and actually decide, you know what, I'm going to the spa. Do you know what, we're going out once a month to eat with the family. We are going for a picnic in the summer, or we are going for a day out in London. Give yourself those treats. That will help your relationship, and that will give your kids memories as well, because they will be able to share with their other colleagues at school what they've done. Because, you know, in this country, kids look forward to their holidays. And when they come back, they'll be able to write stories, share stories with their friends about what sort of holidays they've had. There's so many things you could do, local holidays in this country, Devon, Wales, many places that people can go in the outskirts or even in London for days out. Give them the experiences so that they can be able to enjoy the beaches and everything and bond with your families. Because if you lose that, you'll end up finding yourself depressed or even having some sort of mental health, trying to work on relationships and misunderstand each other. Give yourself those treats, give your children those experiences and build together. Don't lose your hope, because if you did, you will lose your kids, and then bear with your kids as well as they adapt their life here. You know, some is going to take them a while before they settle into the school, because there's a lot of noises around. There's also a lot happening for them. So understand them, work with the teachers at the local school, and listen to your kids. Don't be too quick to judge your kids. It will take them maybe up to 6 months, and before you know it, they will already be settled into the school. They will be happier. But listen to your kids. Don't be too quick to blame them. And the next point is, make sure to look after your health. I think in every video that I do, I always talk about looking after your health. I know food in this country is affordable. I've heard stories from friends and colleagues who have said to me, oh, the food is so cheap, but please refrain from having too much sugar. Look after your health, because you need your health to be able to work. Don't consume too much sugar. You'll end up having problems. I know you know what I'm talking about, but on a lighter moment, look after your health, look after your well-being, take your kids out, do stuff. There are cheap things that you can do in this country outside with your kids so that they can have a better experience. And the little last point that I'm going to throw out there to my brothers who are coming into this country: be very, very careful when you're dating women in this country. Do not get over familiar, because there's a thin line between dating, harassment, and really putting women in a compromising situations. I know there are ways in which people do these things, the dating thing in Africa, but be very guarded. Even in workplaces, approach this subject with caution. I've already seen or heard of many people, or fewer rather than many, who have come into this country and have been accused of sexual harassment. And don't just assume that somebody's asked you to come for a coffee that they want more than a coffee. Please lay off, be mindful of your language with women. This is a very important point, because it could affect your life, it could affect your future, and all your hopes crushed just because you spoke to somebody inappropriately without intending it to come out like that, or even if it was intended. Do be mindful of that. So that's my last point. I hope that I've been able to help some people. Let me know how you feel about what I've talked about today. If you encountered any problems, do you know anybody who's gone through some of these challenges? But I'm hoping that to all the men I've reached out with, that they'll be able to start loading the dishwashers, cooking cooking that oatmeal, making the bed, putting your wife's feet up so that they can be able to rest, or partner, and create better experiences in this country. You will know in the next 5 minutes what I'm talking about. Be mindful about what I've talked about overall at home, even at work. Do not be chauvinistic males that are known to do things that will offend people, because this country unfortunately works differently. I really do hope that you'll take some of the nuggets and be able to help you or help families. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's Shirley here. Please be sure to subscribe if this video has inspired you, or if you've watched it till the end. I really appreciate each and every one of you who tunes in. Subscribe, share, like, and comment. That will encourage me as well, or to know whether what I've talked about has been helpful to you. Until the next video, thank you so much. Bye for now.